Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the Quinten and Dale podcast. Today, Quinten and I are going to be sharing each of our individual personal stories about how each of us got into digital media and how that's become a part of our lives and part of our college journey. So before we get started, cue the fancy intro music. All right, Quinten. So how you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. How about you?
I'm also feeling great. It's good to be here. It's good to chat with you and talk about digital media. And I think we both have probably some pretty interesting stories and just maybe answer some curiosity questions for some people out there who wonder why you and I do what we do.
Yeah. Hopefully we can answer most of everything we need to, and then it'll give everybody a little better understanding of what we do and why we do it.
Exactly. So to get the ball rolling here a little bit, maybe you can start by sharing with us sort of like what's your background in digital media? Like, have you always been like interested in? You do a lot of photography and film work. Is that something that you have always done, or is that more recent in your life? Or
Well, I would say it's a little more recent. So about 3 years ago, I was actually a biology major, but I've always had the love for the outdoors, and I figured that's something that I wanted to do. So I stopped being a biology major and became a digital media major because I wanted to capture the outdoors through a lens.
that makes plenty of sense to me. So you mentioned working in the outdoors. Is that like your focus? Is that what you plan on doing with digital media after you graduate?
Yes, it is. Right now I'm actually working on an internship with an outdoor television show. And I'm working on a few other projects for like the fishing team. And hopefully what I'm doing now just stems into a career that just where I become fluent with the outdoors, and just hopefully that's where I go.
Well, that's definitely good. I sort of had a similar experience with like, I guess, getting into digital media as a freshman in college when I first got here. I was technically undecided. I didn't have a major declared, but I was on track. The way my classes were set up for English education, which is what I was leaning towards. Growing up, a lot of the time I considered, teaching and thought maybe that's what I was, called to do or what I felt to do. But once I got here, I was realizing pretty quickly that, that feeling that I had about wanting to teach was probably wrong. And then I wanted a job that was a bit more independent. And in high school, I was heavily involved with digital media. The main digital media class that you take in high school is sophomore year, which I took, and then it was a 2-credit class, so it was twice as long as normal high school classes. So it was like really long and really intensive, but like it went by really quickly, and I loved the class and had a good time with friends making cool projects and stuff in there. And so that like really influenced me. I had that background, and I loved that class so much that I went on the peer tutor, being like the teacher's assistant 2 years after that in high school. I would, rather than being in study hall, I would take my study hall time over there and work on stuff with the teachers. And so I always had that background. I've always had that interest in like digital media and computers and that kind of stuff. And then after I got to college, I had a roommate my freshman year who was digital media. He did a lot of video work and photography, and just seeing the camera work that he was doing and like being able to get some hands-on work with his cameras really inspired me to buy my own. And so it's really been about 2 years since I bought my first camera now. And I've been doing a lot of work, and mostly film, doing short films and video work, content marketing, and also doing some photography work, mostly independent stuff, but also for the school magazine, The Vista.
Yeah, so in high school, I really didn't have anything like you guys had. We were a rural school, and the highest level, like, I guess, media class would have been like web page design, and we really didn't do a whole lot of designing. would go in there and we'd talk about how computers worked and stuff like that.
Okay.
But once I got to college, well, I shouldn't say once I got to college. Once I decided to switch my major and come to Greenville, actually one of the first people I met was you, Dale. And I learned a little more about you and more about what you've done. And it kind of inspired me to start doing more work, a little better work, trying to get better where I am. I know you've probably been a little inspired by the guy that was, I guess you could say he was almost competition. What was his name?
Logan Nelson.
Logan Nelson.
A past student at Greenville. He graduated a bit ago.
Yeah, I mean Logan Nelson. You guys are cool and everything. You were really not competition, but I think he influenced you, and since I've met you, your stuff has even gotten better noticeably. And I thought it was good before, so that's always a good thing.
For sure. Yeah, and I've definitely I've seen a lot of growth with you, not only in your production and the work that's being put out, but also in your willingness to learn gear more. It seems like you've really focused on equipment and what you can do with equipment, what new equipment you want to and need to buy. And I think understanding that is really powerful. And you definitely think a lot about exactly the purpose of each individual piece of gear that you buy. You know how it's going to be purposed in your work.
Yeah, I mean, I try to figure that out before I buy it, because money's kind of tight when you're a student, so you gotta know what you need.
Yeah, I definitely think buying new gear and getting new gear and using it is the most inspiring part of working in digital media. I just love to try new things, and that doesn't always come with gear. You can try new things with the gear you have, but getting new equipment, new lenses, a new camera, just anything that gives you an opportunity to just go out and experiment is really, really fun. Even if that experimentation is for professional work or just for your own personal benefit, it's always exciting to do that.
Oh yeah, you can be a gear junkie, but if you don't know how to use it, then it doesn't really do you any good.
For sure. Well, Quinten, it's been good.
It has been.
Yeah. This has been a nice chat to talk with you about your background in digital media, and also an opportunity for me to share, where I come from and how I got to where I am doing media work. And this is the end of episode 1, perhaps the only episode ever to exist of this Quinten and Dale podcast. A brief anecdote: our original plan for this story project was not to podcast, but rather to we were going to stick me in the woods for a pretty long nighttime experience.
It would have been a good one. It would have been
a lot of fun and really exciting, probably better to watch than this. But the day we were planning on shooting, which is Monday, March the 19th, ended up being really muddy and gross and raining all day, and just would have been a very bad time to be out in the rain. Perhaps it could have made the story more exciting, but it just wouldn't have been good for me as a person. So we decided to stay indoors and just chat about ourselves and tell some stories of ourselves and have a good time. So thank you all for listening. Tune in next time if next time exists.
See ya.